Hello, beloved. I'm Marcia Mar, multimedia artist, Mimesis artist, able to mirror and speak simultaneously to people in any of the 7,000 plus human languages. Today, the 3rd of May 2020, I'm telling you the story of my near-death experience of 2014. And that was not the first time I have died. So today I'm sharing with you, and it doesn't matter what the day is, I am here, I am alive, I'm with you. That death is nothing to fear. And also that there's no need to go there before our time. Because all of us, every single of us, is similarly unique and have an enormous importance and something to offer and share in the world. So life itself becomes more clear from the perspective of the people who have near-death experiences. And nowadays, many people, there are millions of us, who have near-death experiences and return with a message of peace, understanding of the quality of life and understanding of who we are as people and the essence of love. Because medicine has improved radically, as well as there are more people being able to share their stories. There is communication available to everyone nowadays. So my near-death experience in 2014, I was visiting an island in Scotland, a beautiful island. I remember the night before, I saw a single flower reflecting the moonlight, and I had tears in my eyes to see the beauty of it. You know, flowers, they produce sweeter nectar when they sense the sound of the bees buzzing their wings. So in the morning, when the sun was rising in the horizon, beautiful red sun, this beautiful red trail, I went for a swim. It was also my organic washing facility. And I'm a very strong swimmer. I was swimming on the beautiful trail towards the sun and feeling amazing about the beauty of nature, feeling really connected with nature. And I turned around and started swimming back towards the island, returning. As I was on my return, I realized that the island was becoming smaller instead of bigger. The little line on the horizon, the land, I was becoming more distant from the land. And it's because very strong tides were taking me into the ocean, to the depths of the ocean. I tried to swim as much as I could on the diagonal rather than directly against the tide, because there's a way in which one can move. It was to no avail. I was still being taken towards the depths of the ocean instead. So at one point I felt exhausted, and I decided to lie down and just, rest, float, and try to figure out what to do next. It's as if I float, I can try to think of an alternative, or at least I'm resting in, and then something else may take place. When I place my head on the water like that, and my ears were underwater, I've heard the sound of whales singing underwater. It was amazing. I was overjoyed. It's just like, oh, either way, if I'm staying alive or this is it, this is amazing. Kind of gives us perspective when we feel as if we're going to die, that everything, every millisecond, every experience of being alive is magnificent. And of course, hearing two whales singing underwater, that for me was like, oh, I was so emotional about it. You know, whales, they sing across the planet and they hear each other. I was overjoyed. Also seeing this beautiful red sun image in the horizon. I start feeling very cold, and this is the moment where I start having hypothermia and brain freeze. The way I can describe what brain freeze feels like is if you have ever tasted wasabi mustard, and in small portions it gives you kind of, a strong reaction. Imagine taking a whole tablespoon of wasabi mustard and the brain going as if you could feel every synapses in the brain all happening simultaneously, and it goes strong connections until power off. I had an awareness of my body floating in the water. I would say from every angle is as I was in and out of my body. So I could see myself floating from underwater, above the water, and I could see the earth, I could see the sun. Without eyes, it's not the same sensation. That's where language, which is what we share culturally with one another, is true language. This is I'm trying to convey a message here. The message being that everyone is a message and a messenger simultaneously. I was feeling a sense of my existence, my life, and life itself pulsing like earth and life and existence, and feeling, oh, it's so lovely. Having this amazing appreciation for life itself, all life, not only mine, all life. And a sense of awareness that, oh, there I am, or there I was, there, also time and time becomes relative, space becomes relative to that physicality of existence, and start perceiving it differently from we perceive when we are alive and we share culture and context. So I was hearing the whales singing, my brain shut down, I was no longer feeling the cold or pain. I was just feeling a wonderful sensation, and not only going through the tunnel of light, I was also becoming that light, which is very reassuring and very beautiful. Reaching a state in which, in simultaneity, I am everything and nothing. And that's so good, so good, so good. It's like a pure embrace of love. And it's not that there is darkness or light anymore in that context, because one may speak of dark energy, dark matter, the unknown. in religious traditions, in the vocabulary of the transpersonal level, one may explain as God, Goddess, the multiverse, the universe, is this one sense of being in oneness with everything, including nothing, and the expansion, the movement of energy, all things in peace. So good. It feels like, oh, an embrace of love. Like the way that we hold newborn babies with that gentle caress and that gentle feeling. This is how I felt like, that I was being embraced without a body, but just being part of the embrace. And then, without a voice, I was told, so not in language, but the only way I can describe is like this. I was told, you can go back if you like. And I was like, no, it's so good here, without words. But basically, my reaction was that I was completely at peace. And the concerns I may have had, for instance, with my mother being upset or aware that I was dying, and none of that, or any members of my family, mainly my mother, because she has saved my life so many times, and in addition to giving birth to me, I didn't worry about it. It was if everything was okay, that everything was fine as it is. And even the concerns I have about worldwide peace and change of consciousness while we are here, and equality, all the things I'm normally concerned and worried about, they were gone. It was like when we look at humanity as if we have the mercy to look at ourselves in a very humble way, as if we are babies crawling. So we are not expecting that we're going to start running or walking, which can take place simultaneously. Most of us are in different places at the same time in our own understanding of how to relate to each other, with oneself, with the transpersonal level, our experiences. And it was just like feeling wonderful. Something in me, this me being the totality of who we are, as well as me as this individual that feels like, in a humble way, like, hello, hello, hello. There's me, there's you, hello, how are you, who are you? I began to return. Remember, there's no time and space in such contexts. So I was returning as the light that was going simultaneously in and out of two floating spheres. There were two floating spheres, and I was going in and out of those floating spheres and feeling tremendous love for life itself. Then I realized that those two floating spheres were actually the eyes of the paramedic in the helicopter that was saving my life. The paramedic in the helicopter was looking at me, and he was talking to me, asking about my name. Not that I could understand language at the time. Now, in hindsight, I can make sense of it. And I had not opened my eyes yet as I was lying down with oxygen and machines and this floating silver blanket with a warm fan and a warm drip on my arm. I was initially just feeling as if I was coming through his love for life, the love that, people have for life. And not only he saved my life, but hundreds of people that carry my body, that rescue me in kayaks, that carry me around, that kept me warm, saved my life. And the people who made porridge for the people who saved my life. Because the love for life, the love for one another is what made me return. So somehow I felt this enormous gratitude and love towards this being, this person who saves lives and who loves life. And something inside me, not that I was yet feeling my body, it was just something inside this identity of me was going like, oh, without words. My brain was not processing words yet. It's like just emotion, just something I'm translating now with words. I was just feeling like, oh, it's one of those creatures that saves lives and loves life. Oh, how much love, 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 life, life, life. And this is when I start feeling a sense of embodiment, and I was opening my eyes, and I realized, because the plasticity of matter, the human body, the walls of the helicopter, the window and the image outside, I was not conscious that I was a human being, he was a human being, those were walls, there was a helicopter, anything like that. I'm telling you that from my perspective, all the plasticity of things had a different sensation, a different contact. My perception was much more open than normally it is in my daily life. And I felt, oh, it's one of those creatures that saves life. Oh, that's something. A kind of realization was like, oh, he's saving my life. And this is when I start having a notion that I was an I. Realizing there was an I. And this is when I began to feel the warm drip and the excruciating pain in the body, as if this sort of the circulation returning and the temperature changing. It was extremely painful. So I became unconscious again. And again, being everything, nothingness, light, darkness, the infinite, the absence or presence of light and darkness, the absence of presence or absence, deconstructing everything that I have ever understood in my life as a human. I was again floating as light through these many spheres that were floating in the air, going in and out simultaneously. And these were the doctors, the nurses, and the anesthetist that was looking after me in the hospital. There was something particularly strange about the plasticity of the glasses in which the anesthetist was wearing, which is brown, that adjusts light. And somehow when I was going through that sensation of being light coming through all their eyes, something felt curious about it. So I had not opened my eyes yet, neither was I conscious. First was this sensation of being light in movement, and the sensation of all the connectivity of all the people who were saving my life with each other, with everything. And then I felt in my body. When I opened my eyes, I started feeling a sense of embodiment, of being me, paying the drip, the oxygen. And this gentleman was the anesthetist, assessing my level of consciousness, apparently. He turned to me, and I couldn't, just a detail, I couldn't take my eyes away from the doctor who was right in front of me, because he had red hair, which looks just like the sunlight, the sun before I became unconscious. So it's just like, I was like, oh, looking at his red hair and just going like, oh. Not having any notion or words in my head of why I was feeling that way. But something caught my attention about the red hair and the red sunlight. It was just some exquisite beauty about it. So this gentleman came close to me, the one that was wearing the glasses, and he started asking me, something that I could not comprehend because words were not clear to me yet, was roar, 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 which is, what's your name? And I kind of understood. And like a child who goes like, I think I know it, I think I know it. Something started crawling on I could literally feel my brain having connections. So something started kind of moving, crawling in my head. And then I went like, Marcia? And he was like, yes! Next, he asked me, something that sounded like that, which was, what's the date today? I was not knowing if I was a human being, if I was in the planet, if I was in a country. There were dates, time. None of that was part of my understanding. Somehow him asking me that made something else kind of... I was like, oh, I think I know it. I think I know it. Without words, just like words start forming in my head as a response to it. And this is when I turned to all of them. I was feeling very emotional. A lot of love for all these people who care for life and who were saving my life. And I turned around, and what came out of me was, it doesn't matter what the day is, I am here, my life, I'm with you. Without that, because I was having a drip and didn't move my arms. Then the gentleman with glasses turned to the doctor with the red hair and asked, and just didn't ask, just kind of looked curious. And then he turned around, he turned to his side, and he said, I read in her files that she's an artist. And this is how it did happen. Now, I had two options at the time. I mean, there was no option. I had to stay 48 hours in the hospital. The doctors said it was a miracle that my lungs were completely clear. And they were doing tests. So I presented to the doctors after having had the chance to shower and found that I had these marks on my back. It's like two-sided hearts like this, one white pus and one red. No, one red outside, one white small pus inside. I felt this pain on my back and I didn't know what it was. And it was just something that became a faded tattoo I still have of two hearts. The people who have saved my life were going to take the ferry, return to the land in Scotland, and we're going to find their way back to wherever they're coming from. They were coming from different places. And I had the chance to return with the people I had gone to the island with in the car, which very kindly offered to look after me into the period of returning. Or I could wait 48 hours and fly back by myself. So I did propose to the doctors that if possible at all, I would like to return with the people who have saved my life. Then they ran some tests and asked me to wait for them to make a decision if it was safe. And they did say you have to be 48 hours observed by your friends then. And they agreed to it eventually. I, in the process, delayed the ferry and was extremely apologetic for it. Was extremely apologetic, and for having had an helicopter ride, having worked to save money in the NHS before, I had some strange sensations. Anyway, I was extremely apologetic. When I arrived at the ferry, the captain held my hand and I apologized to him. I'm very sorry for having delayed the ferry because they have kindly waited for me too, for me to be able to journey with the people who have gone to the island and were then returning all together. So that particular group of people. And when he held my hand, he looked me in the eyes and then he said, "Time is relative." And I smiled and was like, oh, people are so kind. So I walked towards the cafeteria with the assistance of people who were holding my arms, and these wonderful, wonderful people who saved my life. I feel tremendous gratitude towards every single person who was there and saved my life and assisted the people who saved my life. Just like sensation of the love that people share, the capacity of self-organizing that a group have to be able to deliver something of that importance, which nowadays we have throughout the world. We're all considering what can we do to save more lives and to transform our experience of a pandemic into an experience of survivorship and learning process. In that context, also all life forms also is for us to consider how to preserve all species. So they helped me walk towards the cafeteria, and there was this kind of sitting area where I was lying down, finding just my way of lying down to rest. I just came out of hospital. I just wanted to lie down. And I was at the hospital told not to close my eyes and sleep, and then the nurses gave me a cup of tea, and the doctors asked that I be not in a situation of closing my eyes and sleeping because of having been unconscious for the period of time that I had been before. So the same thing, I was just wanting to just lie down a little bit and rest, because keep awake, but just rest while I was physically quite delicate. And some of the people have saved my life. They came towards me and they're like, "Marcia, you must see this." And then they grabbed me. And I remember I could hardly touch the ground with my feet because they were carrying me towards the side window of the ferry, where we could witness and see my very, very first time of seeing it. There were 2 orca whales that were accompanying the ferry, just beside the ferry. They were just accompanying it. And I was like, oh, tears fell down my eyes. I was looking at them. Then I kind of understood that time is relative, really. Perhaps if we had taken the ferry a little bit earlier on its timetable time, we may not have witnessed the 2 whales accompanying us. And my relationship with whales is a very, very beautiful one. I was given as a present an electric bass in which I modify and play on my lap. It's here with me. And it had a dog's bite in the corner. And it was modified by my beloved. You were all beloved by infinity. We are all beloved. We all are love in movement, in multicultural manifestation, in our complementarity, in our differences, and we're able to perceive each other, we're able to complement each other, we're able to appreciate each other. So my relationship with whales is that when I start playing the electric bass on my lap for the first time, I'm an experimental musician, so my relationship with sound comes more of an intuitive one. I was playing with these shells like that, just sliding it and put on the pedal with a loop and an echo. And I was hearing the sound of whales. And I was so moved by it. There's also one whale that visited London and died in the River Thames, which I was trying to, like many people in London were, trying our best to see if there was a way of saving the whale's life. And prior to my trip to this island, I was sometime before that given 2 bones of whales, something like that. And I did accept. They were kind of asked. My beloved who gave me had asked the whale and asked the people if it was okay perhaps to take the bones with him to bring to London, and he gave me. And I remember that my intuitive response was to put those bones close to my ear, because in the cave of our bones, sound reverberates. In our sensation of receiving sound in the body, there are many layers to that. Not just our eardrums and our ears receive the information, but also all our physicality. So many years before I had visited this island, I was given these 2 bones of a whale from the island. The skeleton was there, it had died, and I placed it on my ears. And I heard sound traveling in a very, very, very different way. I tried to record it through it, and none of it could be captured in gadgets, but the sensation was there. So 2 years later, after I had the near-death experience, I returned to the island and I took the 2 bones and returned to the water. Because of my relationship with death, my understanding is that ritual in any culture, and animals also have their way of grieving, their way of looking after each other. Many people aware of how elephants respond to the illness of a beloved and the death. So we all have different ways of dealing with this. And for me, it was such a wonderful gift that I could hear whales singing underwater. And if that had been the last thing, either way, staying alive, or if that was the last thing, for me was a point of contact that I have experienced that enhanced my sensitivity. And I'm very sensitive to sound. I can speak or sing simultaneously to any human being in any human language. I do this exercise of mirroring in empathy, mirror empathy enhanced, to feel a sense of togetherness that goes beyond our cultural experiences. And in my humble way, this is what's similar unique about me, is the fact that I know that everyone is similar unique, everyone has something special to share, and I mirror people to voice or wishes or words for peace, the best experience of our lives. Not there is a hierarchical order of any kind. It's just that the experiences that we share while alive, that contain love, they're the real currency of existence. Everyone kind of understands and connects with that information. It's information sharing, so love is something that everyone, the oneness, the totality, the bits of information, the bits that we are, in complementarity, all of that feels love. And to hear the whales singing simultaneously prior to me almost departing from art experience of life, to have had that kindness, interspecies kindness, it was peace. It was peace. Peace of a peace of mind. Peace, 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 peace. And there's so much more to peace. Our sensations, the way that we love one another. it's amazing. And on my return, there was that understanding in that message, kind of saying it can be equally loving over there. Can we believe that? Can we do that? I love you all. I love you all so much. I'm sending this message of love to everyone on the planet, to future generations, to every contemporary person, everyone who have ever died and never existed, everything in its complex existence that is beyond our perception, because our perception is expanding. So, and that was not the first time that I had a near-death experience. I'll tell you more about it next. Lots of love. Always, always, always. Eternally. Love, 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 love is the way to be. Lots of love.